PK52, the Saturday morning meeting. So this last week I spent a lot of time in the Northwest. So in the greater Seattle area, down to Tacoma, past Tacoma, into Olympia. And the one thing, it's been a while since I've been there, but I went to a hotel last time and did most of my meeting in one location. This time I drove the area. And gang, I gotta tell you, what an explosive population growth in that Northwest corridor. I live in Dallas Fort Worth, and if you look at the loop from Austin through San Antonio, Houston, Waco, Dallas Fort Worth, that big oval right there, it's the fastest growing area in the United States by population. We are exploding with people that are coming to this country. And so I started looking around, and I'm on the 405, I'm on the 5, and I started looking at cars. You know, it's pretty easy to look at cars when you're ripping down the highway at 4 miles an hour. And I saw a guy in a right-hand drive Toyota Crown. And I mean, he was as proud as he could be on the wrong side of the car, ripping down the highway in his Crown. But I started looking and I started saying, Casey, just pay attention to the age of the cars. Just look at the age of the cars and focus on what everybody's driving. So we know there's around 350 million people that live in the United States. Registered vehicles, about 289 million. And gang, the crazy thing about it is these aren't all new cars. And I realized in the world of new cars, I looked at one dealership and they had a Rivian, you know, the Rivian truck, and it was a couple of years old and they wanted $77,000 for it. And I don't know. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you have a tremendous income and you have expendable income and you can buy a $70,000 used vehicle or a $100,000 new vehicle. I think most people in the world today are thinking, okay, I might want in my family, I want a new car. And I was in a RAV4 this week. I went to Avis and I bummed off a Toyota. You got to ask because the Toyotas go first. And I just got in an LE RAV and I burned a full tank of gas out of that LE RAV this week. And it's phenomenal. I don't know why anybody, if they were just commuting in a car, would need something more than that LE RAV. It was phenomenal. But, you know, people buy upstream and they buy very expensive cars. But the majority of people that live in the United States want a car for transportation. They want it to be reliable. They want it to be fuel efficient. And you know, a lot of people want it to be eco-friendly. I get it. So we started this year, 2024, the Toyota TCV Silver program. So I was at multiple dealerships this week, and I get there really early in the morning. I walk the inventory because I want to see what they're offering to the public. And I found one Highlander, and it was a silver certified car. It had 84,000 miles on it, and it looked like a brand new car. And it was 24,000. Now, whether that's a good price or a bad price, 24,000 is affordable for a family that needs something that's a bigger mid-size to full-size car. And so that was a perfect car. And then I found out as soon as I asked about it, it was already sold. Of course it was. But it was the only silver that they had in stock. There's 6 million Toyota used vehicles sold every single year. And a retention tool, if you're looking at the long-term space of the automotive business and your brand, the easiest way to be able to resell your brand, if you sell it new to sell it used, is to make sure the customer's staying in your service department. Our relationship with service on the sales side in the business is crazy. I ought to be able to go up and walk up and ask any salesperson for service help, and I should be able to get help because the relationship between the sales side and the fixed ops side should be absolutely 100% flawless, and I don't find that. It's almost like it's two separate businesses and maybe shouldn't be on the same piece of asphalt. Maybe down the road for service so we can separate it. And gang, I believe that's absolutely wrong. I'm going to sell you a vehicle, whether it's pre-owned or new, but the most important thing about that relationship is that car is going to need maintenance. And you know what? In today's world, there's probably going to be a recall or a campaign. Everybody's overwhelmed with recalls and campaigns. As long as we have to mandate put new stuff on a car that's not made by the manufacturer that increases the safety or the gas mileage of the car, and it's bought from an outside company, if there's a flaw in that system, there's going to be a recall. There's going to be a campaign. That is a big part of our future. I don't want to sell any Toyota to anybody that has a potential problem. And so therefore we start looking at these cars. There's a lot of new cars out there for all manufacturers that can't be sold right now because there's an issue or a potential issue. But if you start looking back and you start going back to 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, the buyer changes, the vehicle changes, and the expectations change. I have a little piece of property. Let's say I live in the Northwest and I've got a little slice of heaven out there. I've got a few acres. It's in the trees. I have a gravel drive to my house, and it's just very, very amazing. I've worked all my life to get that. Let's say this is the customer. I can sell them a 4Runner, a Tundra, or a Tacoma with 100,000 miles on it. They can work their property. They can drive it back and forth to work. They can go in and get all the items that they need in their truck or their 4Runner. and the vehicle is at a very affordable price. Let's just talk about this a second, because I had these conversations this week. I'm going to challenge that consumer that's going to buy that silver certified car. And of course, it's up to 10 years old, up to 125,000 miles. So I can sell you a certified Toyota, let's say with 124,000 miles on it, and then cover you with a factory back warranty, which is crazy because nobody would really expect that. So the very first thing is I've got a 1 year or 12,000 mile powertrain warranty. Let's say, for example, the vehicle has 100,000 miles on it. It's a 4-wheel drive or an all-wheel drive vehicle. So the drive system's more complex, and it has features on that drive system that I would use if I had a gravel or dirt road, or I lived in the Northwest and I wanted to go camp by a lake that doesn't have asphalt. But I'm challenging the buyer. Drive this vehicle for up to a year, up to 12,000 miles after you take delivery. And if there's anything wrong with the drivetrain, we're going to take care of that at zero deductible. And I think there's a misconception. I can go online and buy a vehicle service agreement for my car. I don't have to go to a dealership. They've got a deal called Car Shield. You see it on commercials all the time. They don't have to see my car. They don't have to know anything about my car. I fill out a couple of things on a questionnaire, and then for, $100 a month, they'll put a service agreement on my car. Well, I don't know if they pay off every time the car has an issue. This is not a service agreement written by some company out there that just carries paper. This is a Toyota factory-backed powertrain warranty for 1 year or 12,000 miles, whichever comes first, and it's zero deductible. So if something goes wrong with the 4-wheel drive system or the transmission or the engine component, then they're going to take care of that at absolutely no charge, factory-backed warranty. I don't expect that when I'm buying a 4Runner or Tacoma as a second or third car to be able to commute or work on my property. And the next thing is roadside assistance. For the first year or 12,000 miles, and I think it's crazy when you get any kind of package with roadside, whether your insurance company gives you roadside or whether you buy a certified Toyota to get roadside, that's paid for. Toyota paid for 363,516 roadside policies last year. Now, the consumer doesn't have to call the 800 number. Most of them never do. But it doesn't mean that the manufacturer didn't pay for each one of those roadside policies. And so the customer needs to realize if you've got an issue in the car, pick the phone up, call the 800 number. And there's no limitations on how many times you can call the 800 number. If you have an issue with a vehicle and you have multiple issues, you can continue to call that number and the roadside will take care of you. That's all part of the package at no cost. And the crazy thing about it is I'm looking at an 8 or 9 year old vehicle, maybe 100,000 miles. Well, this vehicle is at a price point that I can afford because I'm not trying to buy a brand new $70,000 or $80,000 car. And then a 136-point quality inspection. So Toyota's big famous on the certified side on our next to new cars, our gold certified with 160-point quality inspection. If you ask anybody, anywhere, anytime, what are your biggest concerns when you buy a pre-owned car? It doesn't matter whether the car has the moniker certified or it's just pre-owned. It's not a new car. It is a pre-owned vehicle. What are your concerns? Obviously, I can tell you mine. Based upon the safety and the technology of cars that have been built in the cars for the last decade, the brakes have to be as close to new as possible or completely repaired and replaced, because that's what triggers the safety system. ABS, EBD, brake assist, vehicle stability control, traction control, all of those are guided by the ABS system. So the better the brakes, the better my safety system. And then, I don't know, I'd hate to buy a used car and a week later have to buy $1,200 worth of tires. It happens all the time. Somebody thinks they're getting a fantastic deal on an older used car, and then within 30 days, they've got their credit card out and they're out there buying a set of tires. And 530 seconds is the break-off point for a certified vehicle. Now, that's on a silver or a gold. And if they don't match, then they have to be replaced. So you got a brand new set of tires. So going into the situation, what I would try to do as any consumer is I would try to buy any vehicle that I bought and not have to come around the corner the next day and start pumping money into the vehicle. And that's what the gold and the silver program are all about. Obviously, the silver program is going to have a Carfax. It's almost frightening to think that I'm out there sourcing a car that's in my price point, and I've already said, I'm going to go ahead and get a higher mileage car because it's a second car to the family and it's a necessity car. And I don't really care if the paint's brand new, and I don't really care if the interior looks like nobody's sat in there before. Is it mechanically, and is the structure of the car and the safety components of the car, are they all back to a standard? So they're all back to the standard, so the car's safe and structural and mechanically sound. If that's the case, that's a silver certified car. So there's some things that, I just, the paint is not brand new. But let's do Northwest again, because I was just there. Why would you live in the Northwest and not spend some of your year out by a remote river or a lake that is just beyond beautiful? If you've never been there, and I know some of you have never been there, if you've never been there, it takes the air out of your lungs. It's so beautiful. There's cascading waterfalls, there's there's salmon runs. Why would you not want to go spend a couple of days out there, maybe even in a tent? Well, I don't want to drive a brand new $70,000 truck through the trees and the brush and everything to get that pristine spot out there. That's why I'm buying a 9-year-old Tacoma. I'm going to put a little tent rack on the back of it. I'm going to put some extra gas on there. I'm going to put a couple of solar panels in the back, and I'm going to live off the grid. I'm going to act like I'm the only person on earth for a couple of days a year. I think it changes your life. And that's what we're offering right now. So what I'm telling you is, if you're watching this and you're in the Toyota and the automotive space, the older vehicles, the older Toyotas, with the higher miles, once you give that to your technician and they do the 136-point inspection, they have to sign off on this legally that they've done all this. It's all done. Call your dealership up or go back in the back and grab one of these, get somebody to print this out and read every single line. What is the 136? What are they doing to the car? What are they inspecting, replacing, and repairing? What is the 160 on the lower mileage certified cars? And then I send a customer a Carfax. Can you imagine the surprise if I'm looking at a 4Runner with 105,000 miles, if within a couple of minutes of me requesting, is it still available, the next thing I get is a full printed out Carfax? Toyota pays for all the Carfaxes. Toyota paid for 363,516 Carfaxes. The dealership didn't pay for it. It's part of the certified program. So for the 289 million people that have registered cars on our roads in America, what percentage of those cars are in excess of 60,000 miles, and how many people are standing in line to buy that higher mileage vehicle next? Think about expanding your opportunity to the consumer. Not everybody has a job that's triple digits. Not everybody has a family that both spouses or both partners work. Not everybody got a great inheritance and can afford a $100,000 car. Some people need a very reliable car, and the crazy thing about it is when they're finished with it, somebody else wants that same car. People ask me all the time, why have you been with Toyota all these years? I just told you. I mean, I can sell it new. I can get it back to the dealership and I can gold certify it, which now it's going to be next to new again. Then I can get it back and it's going to have a higher mileage on it. And I'm going to silver certify it with coverage for the customer at no charge. And then I'd like to really get it back again and sell it used. I'll sell you 150,000 or 185,000 mile Toyota and never blink my eye once. Like you've heard me say a bunch of times, Courtney's driving a 2008 Highlander. I'm driving a 2013 FJ Cruiser. Those aren't for sale. These are we can park them when we want. We can go where we want. Both of them are clean. The paint's good on them. We've taken care of the cars. But there are cars that most people would never consider buying because they think the miles are too high. It's not the miles. It's the brand. PK52, the Saturday morning meeting.